This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosovich, George Stoya here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. Josh McCuistion down in Houston HQ. And welcome back to our recruiting report, Monday, November 24th. Plenty to get into. Obviously, a big weekend coming up on the recruitment side of things, the recruiting, hosting side of things. Oklahoma expected a massive visitor list coming up this weekend for the OU-LSU game. But first things first, welcome back. Jonathan Hatton flips his commitment from Texas A&M on Monday to Oklahoma. And Josh, we were familiar with Jonathan Hatton, obviously out of San Antonio, Sabalo Steele High School, and he is back in the fold. This is something that kind of developed over the weekend, I would say, at least getting back onto our radar in terms of recruitment. But this seemingly came together here rather quickly. Just kind of your immediate reaction to Jonathan Hatton back in the Oklahoma 2026 recruiting class.
Well, guys, the thing I notice is he kind of has a time of year with Oklahoma that he seems to really be high on OU. He's kind of a sentimental guy, maybe with the holidays. He initially committed way back in like October, in 2023, decommitted about this time last year, and then now is obviously back on board. So I guess he just loves the holidays. But with Hatton, I mean, this is a bit of a surprise. Like I had kind of checked in with him maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago because there was a little buzz. You kind of heard like, maybe OU's still trying there, but he didn't give any indication that something was on. And he's a kid I've known for a long time. I kind of feel like OU just made a real push here. Now, part of me, and we can discuss like what all this entails and what it's connected to, but you do wonder if Oklahoma just got to a point where they said, this kid is a difference maker for us. You look at the way he plays, he fits what Oklahoma's doing offensively very well. You look at the things that Xavier Robinson does well, it's a lot of what Jonathan Hatton does, and the difference being Jonathan Hatton also has, legit 4.4, 4.5 kind of speed. He's a big-time speed guy.
Hatton ranks as the Rivals industry number 5 running back, number 83 overall prospect in the 2026 class. Followed up a successful junior season in which he ran for 1,147 yards and 14 scores. This year as a senior at Steele, 159 carries for 1,308 yards, 16 touchdowns.
Josh, what changed with him? I guess what happened here? Because I know they were in on Messiah Mickens. If you want to address also what does this mean for that, the Penn State former commit. I know he was at Virginia Tech this past weekend, but this seemed to change Oklahoma's trajectory over the last couple days.
And look at us, George, working together perfectly, because that's what I'm thinking of when I have that conversation. But to me, there's a part of me that wonders if Oklahoma got to an NIL point with Messiah Mickens and kind of said, okay, we can do this, or for that number, whatever it may be, we can go back to Jonathan Hatton and maybe change that conversation a little bit. So, and I wonder if that's why it happened so late. I wonder if that's why Messiah Mickens suddenly takes a visit to Virginia Tech when, he had said almost immediately upon James Franklin's hiring, I'm not really that serious there. I'm not, I like that he's going to Virginia Tech. I wish him luck. But he didn't really sound like a guy who's like, well, I've got to get down there and check it out. So, and within that, you're also already hearing like Messiah Mickens may go to Virginia Tech. Like that's already kind of in the conversation out there. So I kind of wonder if you just had multiple things kind of fall in place here. And when Jonathan decommitted, my feeling very much was, and again, this was on December 2nd last year, guys, so right in the middle of all the chaos, all that had gone wrong for Oklahoma, I think there was legitimate concern, like, am I going to play for these guys? Are they going to be here? What's the long-term prognosis for Oklahoma football? He was thinking all the same things that a lot of us were. So I think for Oklahoma to go out, have the season they did, answer that question, they're moving in the right direction. They've got a young offensive line for him to run behind for the next few years. Like, I think there's just a lot that kind of checks the boxes. And as well as the fact that in A&M's class, there was another top 100 back there. They had another big-time guy committed from the state of Texas, and I think that was something where obviously OU has a commitment as well into Zephan Walker, but I think there may be a feeling by Jonathan Hatton that I can go in there and maybe make an impact a little earlier.
I was just about to ask Josh, kind of follow up, like, is this a guy that could come in and play? I mean, we saw Torrey Blaylock as a true freshman come in and play this year, a significant role for Oklahoma. Could he step up and play? And a quick follow-up to that, is this a big win for DeMarco Murray? I mean, I feel like this was a guy that obviously DeMarco Murray has been in on for some time.
Yeah, this is big for DeMarco because this really is. I mean, this is not one of those guys, where we've had a few commitments over the last 6 months where I'd say, this is Stacey Ford did this or Jim Nagy found this guy. This is a DeMarco Murray guy all day, every day. And there's a good relationship there. He really loved DeMarco. I think when he decommitted, that was easily the hardest thing for him was, backing away from DeMarco. They really were close. And I think at multiple times, Jonathan said, that's the guy I'm closest to in all of recruiting. That was the coach that he had really bonded with. So I do think that's a big win for them. As far as his ability to play early, I would be surprised if he didn't. Knowing what we know about OU's running back situation, guys, I think he is like I said earlier, a very good fit for what OU does offensively. He's not a guy, like we said, when you see Xavier Robinson have success, it's because he's decisive. He doesn't bounce around a lot. He kind of picks a lane. He can shuffle. He can show you a little patience, but he's going to go get 4 or 5 yards. Hatton's very much that same way. He's a downhill guy. He's north and south. There's not a lot of, I'm going to bounce and want to take everything outside. He's going to go where it's, where it's blocked, where it's directed. So I think he makes a ton of sense. And again, this is a guy, we've got him listed at like 5'11 and a half and 195. I want to say that's what Jonathan was when I saw him last year.
Yeah.
I've got to think now he's well over 200 pounds. Like, he is a big, sturdy looking dude.
He was one of those guys that even going back into the summer, going into his senior year, that I remember when you sent some tape back from, I believe it was an Under Armour camp, Josh, physically, and we saw it at the beginning of the program, physically, he is advanced a little bit more than everybody else.
Can he play this weekend?
If he could play this weekend, is Steele still going in the state Texas high school playoffs?
Yeah, interestingly enough, and I was literally just trying to find their kickoff time because he actually plays Oklahoma commitment Mikhail McCreary in the playoff tonight, or the playoffs this week. Johnson, Mikhail's team is 12-0, and I believe Steele is 11-1.
Yeah.
So it's a really big matchup in San Antonio. So there is, obviously Steele is always going to be, one of the big time programs out of San Antonio. But seeing Johnson in person a couple weeks ago, I'm interested to watch that. There are some absolute players. Eddie, you and I raved about the Braylon Allen kid. So there is a lot there. That should be a fun game in the Alamo City. Take
a quick time out from the recruiting report to tell you about our good friends over at Lucy, the 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free pouches. Also have the Lucy Breakers, which is a nicotine pouch with an extra surprise. Each pouch holding a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. Set yourself up with a subscription. We have one. That was upside down. Now right set up somewhat. You can get a subscription and have it delivered straight to your home. All you got to do is go to lucy.co/SoonerScoop. Use the promo code SoonerScoop. That, once again, is lucy.co/SoonerScoop. Use the promo code SoonerScoop. 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Different strengths to choose from, 4, 8, 12. Different flavors to choose from as well, George. The mint, the mango, the berry citrus, apple cider, apple ice, espresso. Plenty to choose from. I think we got some wintergreen over here, right here with us, because we have a subscription and they deliver it straight to our door. Again, that's lucy.co. Use the promo code SoonerScoop to get 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Thank you to our good friends over at Lucy. Now, we must tell you about our good friends over at Tushy. George, you have a Tushy bidet in your home. How's it going?
It's been keeping me clean down there for about a month now, and it's been awesome. We love it in our household. I know that you want one in your household. We're waiting for Carrie to get the one here at the office, but It's awesome. Keeps you clean, and it was super easy to install. That was maybe the easiest part.
I was going to say every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the additional need for plumbing. This is a daily decadence with practical benefits. Over half the people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids, and 9 out of 10 people reduce itching and discomfort. Have you experienced that as well?
Yeah.
Very good.
No more itching or discomfort.
Remember, remember, a-hole is only a naughty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code SoonerScoop at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at HelloTushy.com with the promo code SoonerScoop. HelloTushy.com/SoonerScoop. You see it on the lower third. And now it is time to go back to the recruiting report. I don't know if Markel will be tasked with just covering Jonathan Hatton like he is the rest of the number one wide receivers that Johnson is playing. All right, with the good, there's always a little bit of bad as well. On the other side of it, Oklahoma does lose a commitment on Monday. Jakore Smith, the linebacker out of Arkansas, Bryant High School, he has announced his decommitment from Oklahoma. Josh, what's kind of the latest there? Obviously kind of, for me, it was kind of out of nowhere, out of the blue. Just in terms of Oklahoma and Jakore Smith, what happened there?
Well, this is another one that I had gotten some word probably 3 weeks ago, something along those lines. And this isn't like I knew. There was just some buzz out there that maybe something was going on. And I had heard that maybe Nebraska was kind of checking in with him. And it wasn't so much that I had heard that he had any, wandering eye or that he wasn't sure about his thought. I think it was, maybe that there were some schools that were starting to hear maybe OU's going to pivot. Maybe OU's going to move in a different direction there. And I think that's what's happened here, guys. I think there is a situation where Oklahoma has maybe seen a player in the Dane Bathurst kid that I know we're going to talk about in a little bit that maybe they prefer a little bit. He's a little bit of a different type of player. When you've got they've got Bojandro. They've got Jacob Curry. And Jacob Curry, to me, has some similarities with Jakore Smith. Now, I will say they're different types of player, but in what I think they'll do at Oklahoma, I think it's kind of similar. I think you're talking about linebackers, very active guys, going to, do some stuff with rushing the passer. A lot of stuff that, for OU fans that are not sure what I'm talking about, very Kip Lewis, like that. That's what you're talking about. High activity, lot of motor, that kind of stuff. And I think that is kind of what OU sees there. So with Bathurst, I think you get a little bit of a different player, and I think maybe that's what OU has done here. I did think it was interesting that Jakore Smith made some comments, to our guy Hayes Fawcett about the NIL number, had dropped. My guess is that may be the new, I haven't heard from them in a while. Yeah. That may be the new kind of way that schools kind of back away from a recruit, because my impression is that's what's happened here. I don't think this is a move Jakore wanted or anything like that. His teammate is committed to Oklahoma. He's got a former teammate in Amarian Robinson that's on the roster. So there wasn't, to my knowledge, anything from his side. I think this was a decision Oklahoma made.
You mentioned him, Dane Bathurst. I saw him on campus on Saturday. He was down in the the south end zone, I guess, before the game, messing around with all of the other guys that were in attendance. He was a guy that we had talked about on the recruiting report in the weeks leading up to the visit. It was interesting because, as you mentioned, it was Nate Dreiling that had certainly kind of headwayed his recruitment. 6'3", 230 out of Carmel, Indiana. Obviously, he went to Plant High School in Florida his junior season, but you turn on the tape, very impressive, very athletic. Just in terms of his visit and then kind of forecasting what's going to happen with Dane Bathurst over the next couple of weeks. Is he a early signee guy? And just in terms of his visit, how did it go for Oklahoma hosting Dane Bathurst?
Well, from everything I understand, it went very well. Now, I talked actually, and where his situation gets interesting is he basically left Norman and immediately went to Purdue for an official visit there. So I think it's a little hard. We haven't had a lot of chance to talk with him. So there's a little bit of guessing on this, but I can tell you, talking to some people at Purdue, I think their expectation was he was going to leave Norman committed and probably never make it to West Lafayette. So, whatever that means, I think this is probably a deal where Purdue had been with him longer. He felt like he needed to go take that visit. And then we'll kind of see what happens. That should wrap up tonight, and then tomorrow maybe we'll get some real feedback. But I think it went very well. I think I've got a prediction in for him. I still think Oklahoma is where he's going to end up. But when a school gets, when like you don't really get to have him marinated. He doesn't really get to hang out and kind of think about it. He's just now at Purdue, and then he gets to get home and kind of think about things. I believe he was at Duke the weekend before. So, I mean, he's kind of making the rounds here, but I do think he is going to be an early signee guy. And I would bet by the weekend we probably know what Dane Bathurst is doing.
Man, I love his tape. Yeah, he's kind of a monster. I know we talked about this, I think, on the last recruiting report last week, Josh. They see him as an inside linebacker for Oklahoma?
I think that's the idea. I'm with you, George. Like, and that's the tough part for me, because I don't want to ever make it sound like I don't like the kid. Like, as an edge or a stand-up guy, I'm all in. Like, I love what I see of the guy. He's super active. He's got a great motor. He fits a lot of the things that we talk about. Like, oh, Miguel Chavis will get something out of that guy. He's that kind of guy. He just really is wired that way. At the same time, I get the impression that they kind of are thinking of like moving him off ball and seeing what that looks like. They like these bigger linebackers, guys, going back to like Phil Picciotti and some of those names that we remember. Some have worked out, some haven't. I mean, Kobe McKenzie, I think they've done an outstanding job. Because for those that remember Kobe out of high school, he was a bigger, kind of broader guy than he is now, and he's changed his body a lot. He's put a lot of work in. It's become an outstanding Mike for Oklahoma. So I wonder if that's kind of the thinking here. But it's a guy that's 6'3", 230. I mean, you've got to think in college, like, what does he naturally get up to? So again, they may have to do some of that same work, but I like the idea. And again, you guys know I love a guy that you can pivot with. Like, if it doesn't work there, man, put him at defensive end, and I could see him really take off, and that's going to be fine. So to me, it's a worthwhile risk, because even if maybe he doesn't work out where you're hoping, you still absolutely have an avenue where he can be really successful.
Our guy Sam Spiegelman had this morning a little bit of an update with Markel Ford, another name that Oklahoma hosted over the weekend, talking about flipping guys. They got the Jonathan Hatton flip coming down on Monday. What about Markel Ford, Josh? It certainly sounds like there is a high level of confidence that they can flip him, who is currently committed to SMU out of Mesquite Horn High School.
Yeah, that was one last week that you could tell. I think people around Oklahoma were kind of wanting to keep that as quiet as they could. And then I think on Wednesday, the dam kind of broke and everybody kind of heard about it and news started to leak out. And, once it gets to national guys, there's no stopping it anymore. So with Markel, this is a guy that, the staff has loved for a long time. This is a guy they really like. It sounds as though my impression is that Oklahoma values him more highly than SMU does. Like that, I think that's the easiest way to say it. It's not that SMU doesn't like him. I don't want to present that at all. They took his commitment. They absolutely do. I just think that OU sees him as a very natural fit in what they do. And it's not hard to imagine him as kind of a cheetah type of player. Mm-hmm. He's very physical. He can play some coverage for you, but he's willing to come up and play run. Like that. There's a lot of different stuff you can do with him. And again, he's just a good athlete that I think Oklahoma says, okay, we can find a way to make this guy really useful. And frankly, we were talking about, on the forget any number of shows, is that that this staff has bought the credibility where you say, okay, if you guys say he can play, fine. Like I'll believe you and you'll find a role for him. So again, I like the take, and he's again, this isn't one of those guys where you say, oh, you made this late eval. They've wanted him for a long time, and I think he kind of is falling back into their lap a little bit.
Does he give you any Reggie Powers vibes? That was the first person I thought of watching him.
There's some of that for sure, and that kind of physicality. But I mean, I always remember with Reggie, like you could watch him make the big hits that we've all gotten used to him seeing, but you're like, oh man, he can cover those. So there's a lot there. And guys, I mean, I don't know about for you, but to me, there's no question who OU starting cheetah is next year. Like I think we all kind of get that, and that's the plan. And that makes a ton of sense, George. And it also equates very naturally when I'm talking about OU values this guy more than SMU. This is not a guy that maybe is a priority for every defense because, okay, do we put him at safety? Does he grow into linebacker? We don't know what we want to do with him, as to where Oklahoma's like, well, we've got a perfect spot for him. We know exactly what we're going to do with him. So I think that's maybe why OU, obviously a place that's doing very well recruiting on the defensive side of the ball right now, maybe prioritizes this guy over, a place like SMU that maybe wouldn't naturally, you wouldn't say, oh, yeah, OU's going to like a guy more than SMU would.
Oklahoma now 17th in the country, moving up from 19 where they started the morning with the commitment of Jonathan Hatton. We are kind of getting to the period now where a lot of teams are starting to close down their high school seasons. We have early signing period just around the corner. What are some things that you're kind of looking for here over the next couple of weeks as Oklahoma closes out this 2026 class, maybe outside of the guys that we just talked about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think one of the really interesting positions is offensive line, guys, where they have, 2 current commitments. They're bringing in 2 this weekend on official visits, and I know we'll get into the visit weekend a little bit in Jonas Muya and Noah Beebe, but also over this last weekend, they also we talked a lot about oh my gosh, the guy we were literally just talking about. Markel Ford. Sorry, just went totally blank there. His teammate from Mesquite Horn also came up. Cole Seaton, an offensive lineman that's committed to Baylor. Now, Cole left without an offer. He was given the impression that Oklahoma's got to sit down with Jim Nagy and they've got to make some decisions. And I think that's probably pretty valid. But I do think that it's something they're entertaining. And maybe he could be a guy that if it doesn't go well this weekend with somebody, maybe they pivot in that direction or whatever they need to do. Or maybe they just go for an extra offensive lineman. I mean, clearly Oklahoma's kind of devil may care with the numbers right now. They're just doing whatever they want to do. But I do think that that's a real area to watch. The other one I would say, guys, and it's a name that I frankly maybe haven't talked enough about, is the Malik Franklin kid from Alabama that we mentioned a couple weeks ago. Big dude, 6'6", 252 is what he's listed. I mean, just a massive defensive end type of player. You look at, he hasn't said anything. He's been very quiet. He's a very tough kid to track. But my impression is I think he's going to be on campus this weekend. Like, that's kind of my feel. I don't know it. I can't report it as a fact, but that's kind of the way I read this. And it wouldn't shock me at all, again, if he's a kid that comes out of that weekend and he's committed to Oklahoma, because I feel like Oklahoma's making him a real priority while maybe others aren't. And with what we've seen from Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis, okay, cool, man. That body type, and they think he's good, great. Like, I think OU fans should be excited about that kind of guy that, frankly, hasn't played a lot of football, guys. This is a guy that is still there's a lot of tools here that haven't really been tapped into yet.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of these Alabama prospects, because as we transfer over into 2027, Oklahoma, Ben Arbuckle have put out another quarterback offer, a new quarterback offer. Jamison Roberts, a 2027 quarterback out of Alabama. And you just turn on the tape, and I told you, I believe the direct phrase was, he's pretty effing good.
Yeah, Eddie, and to your credit, man, pro segue. Just took it
Thank
from
you.
Alabama to Alabama. That's beautiful. No, this kid, I remember when I first heard his name, and I want to say I kind of referenced something, and I went and watched his tape, and you were like, this guy doesn't have an offer list that makes any sense to me. I mean, he plays at Saraland, guys, like one of the best programs in the state of Alabama. They're going to go play in the state semis this weekend. I may well be making the trip over there. I'm kind of making sure I can make that work on Friday after Thanksgiving. But there's a ton to like here. He's a good athlete. He's like 6'3", 210, so he's a big, strong kid. He runs well, but he's not, you see so many of these guys that are, listed as dual threat, and you're like, yeah, he can throw it, but it's not, it's not like his natural element. He wants to get out of the pocket and run around. This guy can do that, but he'll sit around and he'll make throws and really, I think last week is coming off like a 6-touchdown performance in the state quarterfinals, ran for 2, threw for 4 more at like 343 yards or some crazy thing. He is a really promising guy that I'm going to guess in 3 or 4 months' time, if Oklahoma were to land his commitment, people are going to feel very differently about, kind of where he's ranked and what it means to OU's class.
That was kind of my next question, Josh, because you look at his offer list. It's not a bad offer list by any means, but judging based off this tape that has been put out from his junior season, you would just think that there'd be some higher, bigger echelon type names that would be involved with his recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I like from a high school guy, and it's something that, I remember being a younger guy watching tape, and you fall in love with the arm strength or, the mobility, the really easy stuff to watch. I watched this guy like drop it over linebackers in front of safeties and like show some feel and some real touch for stuff, the kind of layered throws that, some high school kids just, they don't ever have to do. But I mean, he plays at a high level in Alabama. There's good competition. So I think he shows a lot of maturity for a kid his age, and just talking to him, like, you're like, oh man, I'm sure this is a kid the coaching staff loves. Like, he just, even before, like before he took his trip, I kind of was like, well, what do you want to see? And he goes, I kind of just want to see whatever they think I should see, whatever they want to show me, like what's important to the program. Like, that was kind of the idea. And you're like, holy crap. Like, it was kind of answer I don't normally get. And it showed like I'm trying to take in information from them rather than I'm going to go in with like an idea of what they need to tell me.
Josh, where do you think he's at on their quarterback big board, like when they're looking at 2027 quarterbacks? Because obviously they wanted Peyton Houston. That was their guy. Where is he in terms of quarterbacks that they're looking at?
They've only really made 2 offers in the class at this point between he and Peyton Houston. So you would have to include him. I think you could probably include another guy or 2 in there, because, and I say that there's probably another offer or 2 out there to kids who are committed elsewhere and that kind of thing. So you have to bear that in mind a little bit. But I mean, to me, I think OU has 3 or 4 guys that, like, including Dane Weber, who was there this weekend as well. I think that went well. I don't think people should write him off just because he didn't pick up the offer this weekend. But I think he's kind of in a group of top 2, top 3, kind of depending on how you want to look at it. And I will say what's going to be interesting and what I kind of want to watch coming out of this is Oklahoma ready to push for him? Are they like, if they felt like they could get his commitment tomorrow, would they really push for it? Like, did he impress them a lot on the visit? Because, even talking to him, he kind of got the impression they wanted to size him up a little bit and kind of see what he's about, what his makeup is like. I didn't have the impression he was going to get an offer this weekend. That's not how I read this situation. And for him to pick up the offer, I'm like, I think they liked him more than they thought they were gonna. And not that they had like a bad vibe about him, just like he really impressed everybody. So I think that is something to keep in mind. And if they're willing to, I think they're in a very good position. I think that's something that could happen over the next 2 or 3 months. I don't think he's in a hurry, but I do think Oklahoma's in a good spot right now. If not, I think you could read that as maybe OU still thinks they have a chance with Peyton Houston. Like, and it kind of, and again, that makes sense because LSU doesn't have a head coach right now. We don't know who they're going to hire. We've got to, watch that. Everybody after the Egg Bowl will get to watch with bated breath and see what happens. But I do think Peyton would at least, if they didn't hire a guy he was in love with, I think Oklahoma could at least get their foot back in the door and kind of see what happens. But that's all a lot of question. The nice thing here is, again, I think Jamison Roberts in 2 or 3 months' time is going to be at least kind of a top 150 guy. I think the story will change on him a lot.
Could be a household name here before too long. All right, 2027, it's off to a fantastic start, number 2 in the country. We'll see what happens with the quarterback situation. Just in terms of everybody else, it seems like when you're talking to all of these guys, really, there is a lot of momentum, and I've joked with some buddies that there's almost too much positive momentum right now around the Oklahoma program. Do you hear guys talking about Oklahoma differently in this 2027 group as maybe opposed to the 2026 group or the 2025 group that are freshmen right now, that there is a kind of a turn where they're starting to believe in what Brent Venables is offering? And not to say that they weren't already.
That may have been your description to your buddies of like, it's almost too much.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a trap. You're like, what's going to go wrong here? Like I've done this too long. Like Oklahoma's got the number 2 class in the country. They've got a lead offensive lineman committed. They're in all the right places. They're recruiting nationally. Everybody's, I love OU. I love OU. I mean, like it's very positive right now. And again, that's happening when you're winning and when, things are going well. Like these are the things that happen, but we've watched OU win a lot of games, and usually the other shoe kind of drops. So I don't know what to make of it. I think it's really interesting to follow. But, yeah, there is no question because it's not – guys, we've seen this. We've seen when Oklahoma will get positive reviews and those kind of things, and then months will go on and nobody commits and nobody commits and nobody commits. And – guys, they just keep reeling guys in. They got, Michael Davis the other day. I'm not sure how to say his first name right. I've got to check with him on that. And then you've got, Juju Johnson from Long Beach Poly. He's supposed to announce next week. Everybody's got him kind of pegged to OU. And that's before we even really get started with the in-state class, guys. Of all these guys, we know OU is absolutely a legit contender with. So it's kind of crazy. Like I kind of keep waiting for something to go wrong. And really so far, the only thing I can point to is quarterback. And again, if Oklahoma likes Jamison Roberts enough, I don't think that's going to look all that bad in a very short amount of time. So it does sound really positive. And what's interesting is, you would expect it on the defensive side of the ball. I'm still hearing good things on the offensive side of the ball. I think there's still a lot of hope that they are going to get things, turned around, and Oklahoma seems to be selling the right things.
I would say that, I was told over the weekend, and I passed this along to you, that things are going so well right now in 2027 that they're going to have to make some very serious decisions, and I would say evaluations on top of that to decide who they really want as center because there's just not going to be enough room for everybody.
I don't think there's any question. I mean, I guess we've talked about it at corner where they had 9 guys who I think, OU makes plenty of offers. They may be 25 offers at corner. When you sit down and watch the tape, you're like, okay, 15 of these guys are real. Like are real guys that OU would seriously push for. And guys, when I say there's 9 that are all either, have said Oklahoma is leading or, have committed to Oklahoma or, clearly indicated their interest. There's 9 of that 15 that I would say that of. And so you're like, what do you do here? Because, I mean, again, you get Juju Johnson. You've got 3 corners committed. Mikhail McCreary, you already have, like I said, Mikhail Davis and Juju Johnson. That would be an unbelievable start. And you still have Gabriel Osborne, who I think is an absolute freak of nature at Mustang. That's crazy, like what you could do. So, and that's not alone, guys. I mean, you look at the defensive line, not surprisingly, there's a lot of good groundswell there right now with all that's happening, and there's some guys coming in this weekend, one in particular that I think Oklahoma is going to offer that kind of not a lot of people are talking about yet. That's all happening. Like they are going to have to make some tough choices. And Georgia, I know it always gets to be Ask Josh stuff. Has the SEC clarified the 105 rule? Like, has that changed and I missed it? Like, have they said, okay, in 26, we're going to join everybody else? Or is that still kind of up in the air?
I don't think they've changed anything. It's a great question.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that they've at least not announced any changes, but you would think that they would change that rule. And I'm sure OU's, crunching some of those numbers because it's about to get, it's going to be really interesting the next month, guys, because I'm interested, how do they finish this 26 class, how many guys they're bringing in, and then who are the departures, and how many spots do they have for portal players? Because I think they're going to be aggressive, but I don't think they're going to be adding like 20 guys in the portal. So it's definitely fascinating. And then obviously the 27 class, I'm very curious how big that class ends up getting because it seems like they're in on so many dudes that, are obviously ranked very high.
Just to clarify, too, Juju Johnson officially not in the class currently in the 2027, but it does seem like he is definitely in line along with a number of those other quarterbacks that we've talked about, including Gabriel Osborne, who I thought is very impressive over the course of what he's been able to do with Mustang this season. You mentioned it this weekend, LSU weekend, final regular season home game here in Norman. It's going to be a massive visitor list. In fact, I've heard maybe upwards of possibly 80 coming in this weekend. Who are some names to maybe keep in mind going into this weekend, and what are your expectations just in terms of could they come out of the weekend and say over under 1.5? Do you think they're going to pick up a couple more commitments?
This is one of those weekends, Eddie. I mean, you're mentioning that kind of number. Like, it feels like everybody I asked, like, yep, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be like, there's not a lot of no's I'm getting on the RSVPs, but we mentioned earlier, the Noah Beebe, the offensive lineman from Friendswood here in the Houston area, and Jonas Muya, the big offensive lineman from Indiana. They're expected to be in on official visits. As things stand, Messiah Mickens has been expected. Now, guys, there's a couple interesting conversations there because obviously, what does the Jonathan Hatton situation do to that? And, guys, I don't know how to say this. When I watch Messiah Mickens on tape, if they didn't like him, or if he isn't set on, like, I got to be a running back, he is a really good linebacker. So, like, if Oklahoma wanted to explore that avenue, maybe. But, I don't think that's what's going to happen. It's just something to file away. And the other issue with him is he is playing in a state semifinal game on Saturday, guys. So obviously he cannot make the game, but do they bring him in for like a Sunday, Monday kind of deal? Like, I don't know, because it's always been he's coming in LSU. He's coming in LSU. That's always been their plan. So we got to see. Let's just that trip visit may happen. And if it does, it just won't happen on a normal schedule. We'll have to kind of watch what goes on there. But as far as some of the names that maybe, other guys are of interest, kind of connected to Messiah Mickens, Jasir Rogers is going to come down. So I know a lot of people have been like, well, is Virginia Tech going to get involved there? Are they going to mix that up? I don't think so. I think OU scheduled this very strategically to make sure that whatever happens, they've got the last word. And so I think that's well played. I think he's going to be fine. He's been very adamant that he's solid with Oklahoma. Krew Jones will be in town, the big defensive lineman from Utah, one of OU's primary defensive targets. They love this kid. I don't know, guy. They just finished winning state at Ridgeline there in Utah. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of him, but Eddie, George, everybody out there watching, go look at this guy. He is he's a monster. Like, I mean, that dude looks, like I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, it's almost like he could be the third Jandro brother, and he's like 6'4", 240. He's crazy big. Jackson Stokes will be back in town. Cooper Hackett will be back in town. So always good to have those kind of guys. Juju Johnson is going to be in Norman right before his visit. So I think that, read into that how you will. Camion Compton Nero, and one of the really big guys in state, Samaj Stanford, is expected to be there. And that's a big one for OU, because I think, and we've talked about this, I thought they started off a little bit behind, kind of out of the race a little bit. I think they've done a very good job getting back in the thick of things. And Samaj, will be coming to that game, coming right off a 6A state semifinal game with Bixby this Friday night.
I've heard of them. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So is everybody over there at Broken Arrow as well. So, all right, that's going to do it. Massive weekend coming up. Big day for Oklahoma. Plenty of coverage of Jonathan Hatton's flip from Texas A&M to Oklahoma on SoonerScoop.com. And looking forward to Oklahoma as they make the final headway here on the 2026 recruiting class, with early signing day just around the corner. For Josh and George, I'm Eddie. We have the Game Day Rewind here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel as well. Check that out. Oklahoma's 17-6 win over Missouri, and all leading into a massive weekend with Oklahoma having an opportunity to clinch a spot in the college football playoff. Until next time, we will see you right back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.